Welcome to the Golden Feather. Grab a pint, a plate, and pick your seats. Your hosts, Vertek and Chibi are back from their latest adventure.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Golden Feather. Today we have HalfTilt Gamer.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello there. And with me, as always, the one, the only, Vertek.
Hi, everybody. I dressed up fancy today. Let's do this. Got my bow tie.
You know what you remind me of? The meme where they have Zoom attire being sold, where it's like a business suit.
Yeah. The business suit and pajama pants.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, it's December now. Oh, goodness. December 11th, to be exact. And we're on episode 62, and we're calling it Full Tilt Testing, featuring HalfTilt Gamer. And
They can get us half the way there.
yeah. Well, to be fair, we're only 1 week into December, and there's only one more week until testing.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, we're halfway there.
They should write a song about that.
Moving on.
See it now. Oh, we're halfway there. See, that could be the hook right there. We could make it.
It sounds amazing. You should just continue that.
Weird Al spin-off
it'll
on
be a
Bon
top
Jovi.
40s.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, who's that? I don't know what you're talking about. It was all original.
So, HalfTilt Gamer, what do you do? Who are you? Where are you?
Well, I'm new to the Ashes world-ish. 6 months, I guess now. It's not that new, but from Canada, West Coast Canada, live out on the island. I've been doing content for a little over a year now. I started in another game and kind of got burnt out on that one, and then I saw Ashes. I saw Lazy Peon's video, and I'm like, okay, I need to get back into playing MMOs again. This is a thing. Like, I'm sure so many people here were roped in by Lazy Peon's video. So that is kind of what brought me in, and I wanted to take a focus on trying to create content, do something fun and unique, and just have fun with it. See where it goes.
So, on that topic, what kind of content do you make?
Right now, my latest focus has been a treasure hunt series based on the lore that we have found, or that has been teased and released to us. Going back as far as APOC, unfortunately, I never got to play APOC. Sad face, but I didn't know about the game then. But I've dove back into that lore and some of the more recent stuff, that even as recent as the charity stream, and just trying to parse through that, see if we can get ourselves onto some potential world quests, maybe world bosses or raid bosses, and artifacts, legendary items to go after, build some hype that way. And it's been a lot of fun. When I first started it, I didn't expect it to be so fun. It made me take a different thought approach to how I create videos, and I've really enjoyed the process.
Nice.
It's been fun. So as tedious as video editing can be.
Yeah, I've got to say, like, with all the content creators out there who are struggling and state that they can't find anything to really have create an episode of anything on, because there's not much talk about it, or there's not much content to talk about.
Which
it's kind of
we
refreshing.
Are guilty of.
Yeah, which we're guilty of too.
We've
said it before. But I mean, you're taking a fresh approach to it, whereas you are digging through the information there and creating content out of it, not just using content that you can talk about. You're actually creating content. You're taking little bits of lore and like, hey, what are these little items that they would be dropping somewhere along their journey, and where would we find them? And that's I think an angle that not many people are really going with, is actually digging through to find something they can make content about, instead of just taking content handed to them and making a video. Not downplaying anybody's efforts, just saying.
No.
Like, you're taking the long way around, but in my mind, a lot more creative way around than a lot of people are going. So
Well, thank you.
I dig it.
It's been fun. I mean, there's only so much to go on. I think I've definitely dove into the 2 topics that we have the most information on, so it's going to get really creative moving forward, really speculative, but hey, at the very least, maybe it'll give some ideas to Steven and Intrepid on how to throw something into the game to give us something to shoot after. But I'm looking forward to that process once we get in there too, and hopefully something we can keep going.
Maybe you'll inspire something like in World of Warcraft, where there's like that big treasure hunt, and you have to understand what they're referencing so you can know where to go. And then that guy got stuck in a, I think it was a dungeon forever because you went the wrong direction or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you want to know what just popped into my mind now that you said something about WoW and treasure hunters there, and I looked up and I saw a beard, Bran Bronzebeard. that I think has the right personality for your shows there.
There you go.
Okay, I might have to look into him. I've been playing a lot of WoW Classic lately, but I've never dabbled on the Alliance side. So the dwarves and bronze and them are a little foreign.
Oh well, he was way back with Ulduar. He was basically one of the ones that helped start them being angry at you by saying, "Hey, let's go check this stuff out." And the next thing you know, the entire raid is attacking you.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he's always digging into like the old artifacty archaeological digs. And yeah, he's always an escort quest, like Z says. Yeah. And he's always getting into trouble, like digging up stuff from the past. Always. Let's check this out. It's going to be amazing. Next thing you know, it's raining fire.
Dwarven Indiana Jones.
There you go.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly it.
Right on.
He's in Halls of Lightning, apparently.
Okay.
There was a few mounts in World of Warcraft where you had to follow through like a series of I'm blinking on the word. Riddles? There we go. Kind of like a series of riddles for your treasure hunt. And I know at one point I was a part of a guild and a couple of the guild members were attempting it. I never got that far just because I was just like, I don't know. It sounds like too much work for me, mainly because I go to college a lot. So like, I like reading, but really, really long lines like that, and then having to start over if you fail, it just kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I was like, if I was on like vacation or something, sure, I'd try it, but not really feeling like trying it. But one of them got like stuck in a dungeon trying to do it. Like got lost or something and then couldn't get back out. I was just like, what do I do? And they're like, Earth? I don't know.
Having said that, though, that really makes me want something like that in Ashes too, where maybe not a riddle that's timed, or if you fail, you have to start it all over again, but something that's very puzzly that you got to put a lot of pieces together on your own to figure out where to go, because you're not going to be able to go up on Wowhead and find an answer because every other person on every other server has done it already. Every server is going to be dynamic that way. Yeah. So if you want to be the first to do it, you will be the first to do it, or have the potential to do it. So it's going to make for a really interesting hunt that way.
It was funny. There was actually one of the perks for Kickstarter for one of the tiers was to create an event with the devs. And I started working on that, thinking that it was like an event, like a world event or something, not like, a little holiday thing or like a such and such day. But I started to make something that was similar to that, like a puzzle you'd have to figure out little by little, but there were zero clues to anything anywhere. You just started to find things. And if you got rid of them, then you got rid of them. And it could, in theory, take like 2 years for someone to figure out that there is something to do with those items. And everyone that's been throwing them away has been making a mistake, because it's going to take you like 6 months to collect all the items to get into the areas, because you got to follow the seasons and all this and that.
Yeah, and that would be really cool.
Because it could take somebody 6 months, or it could take 2 years to figure out that that's even a thing.
Yeah. By the time you put it all together and be like, hey, I had an item that looks similar to this, like it might be a part of this. Long time ago. Where was I when I got that? That node is now destroyed, and you got to go level it up again so you can get that item again, and that would be awesome.
Dang, I should have kept that wooden peg leg. Yeah, pretty much exactly like that.
Yeah. Make your voodoo pirate doll.
Like it'll be a little like not a white item, but it'll be like a green item that has no purpose whatsoever. That it like in the description, and it'll sell for a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, hey, sure, it's an artifact from somewhere. Cool. Here's money. But you could have been saving up your way to fight a very unique world boss.
That would have been
whole
super
time.
cool. Or it's something that leads to a legendary item or something. Even just an Easter egg would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I really like player decision driven things. So like back when we thought that it was more of like a questline thing, mine was going to be something along the lines of like helping somebody out, and then later on, because you helped them, something else happened in your benefit. Because I'm very much into something like that from like D&D and Pathfinder too. Like, oh, remember that innkeeper that you decided to not pulverize since you talked your party down? Well, he decided to give you a night for free.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
Nice.
even
Hey
the
there,
little things
Sunfrog.
like that.
Yeah, you did finally catch it. Didn't come in at the last minute.
Welcome
Got
in.
you.
Hey, Sunfrog.
But yeah.
But yeah, that would be. I feel like we will see stuff like that in Ashes, especially through the development of nodes. When you go from an encampment up to a city or town to a metropolis, that there's going to be NPCs that are going to grow along with it, and if you help them along the way, you might get like a discount in the shop, or free stays at the inn, or maybe some free ale at the tavern.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
At
honestly,
the
I think.
tavern.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think with all the years that Steven's had with this as like a Pathfinder campaign, there's so many different stories and so many different situations and just whatnots that he could have drawn from at this point, to where there has to be some kind of little puzzly random bits of things that you have to find, and that aren't going to really be explained in full detail. There has to be a lot of them. Because even looking at World of Warcraft, that had a few until they got revealed, and then they ended up on Wowhead and all that. But
Yeah.
like even until then, they had a few secret little things here and there. But they were also basing that on Warcraft, which was a game that had a very linear path. Like there wasn't any choice to it. But he was dealing with like every time there was a campaign, every time he met with people to play the Pathfinder campaign, he was dealing with player choice every single time.
Yeah.
So
Something else just kind of occurred to me that would be kind of cool is like a different kind of puzzle where it's like who you choose to encounter with and who you choose to not encounter with. So like a mob of enemies who you chose to fight or not fight might have changed an outcome of some sort.
Maybe that roaming group of bandits that you decided to pass on while they were attacking a caravan will leave your caravan alone the next time they come across you or something.
Yeah, something like that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how impactful player decision is from an NPC standpoint, not just from a player interacting with other player standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. So, Veritech found some nifty looking a forum post from the official forums. I hope not at all.
Yeah. There were some interesting posts. Like there was somebody's take, Kiyonashi. I'm gonna pronounce it like that, even though I have no idea if I said it right. But Kiyonashi says, "Let's not have the best weapon, please." They're arguing in favor of having a variety of weapons. Even somebody said, I'm hoping they were exaggerating, but they said they were playing a specific game and they had to carry like 20 different weapons on hand.
Oh boy.
Any situation.
That's excessive.
Yeah, and they said specifically bows, actually, like 20 different bows. But I hope they're being excessive on that because I didn't play the game and I don't know. But what's your take on that? Would you prefer to have like the one weapon? I mean, I know Ashes is going to have like god tier weapon legendaries that are going to be very, very, very limited. So those are obviously going to be the best. But short of those, do you believe in having, say, this is the best bow, or this is the best sword for this circumstance, this is the best whatever for this, what, like great sword or two-handed sword, and this is the best staff? Or do you believe in needing to carry multiple weapons to fit circumstances? Like you need to take your ice resist gear to go there, and then you need to take your physical resist gear to go there.
It's an interesting thought, and I like the idea of diversity. Of course, it adds a lot of end game things to work towards. And when it comes to weapons specifically, because any class can wear any weapon, there's already going to be a bit of diversity there based on playstyle preference. I really like the idea of what Kiyoshi was mentioning about different elements, and elements being prevalent on most, if not all, gear. And the dynamic that brings even into, guild siege, node siege. Going into a specific dungeon or raid, I don't want to have to bring in 20 different weapons.
Oh yeah.
Bag space is going to be a premium in this game, and I think there needs to be a bit of respect for that. If you have to fill 3/4 of your bag just with gear required to complete the raid, including consumables, that probably doesn't leave you too much to pick up anything while you're in the raid. Yeah. So that's cumbersome. But if you need 2 or 3 different weapons based on a specific encounter, where due to your play style and your subclass that you've chosen, maybe you're better off switching from a melee to a ranged for a specific encounter. Not that you couldn't do it the other way, but you're better this way, so you bring a bow to do that with. Although I think you're going to be able to equip a ranged and melee anyway. So I think that's going to be a big thing. Tanks and whatnot might have to worry a little bit more about elemental damage mitigation. But in terms of doing damage, it's probably going to largely be based on your biome, and the theme should be pretty similar throughout the raid. Where, if you're going into an ice dungeon, you bring a fire weapon, you might come across a more element neutral boss, but having a fire element weapon isn't going to be disadvantageous in any way. So I hope it's something like that.
Yeah, me, I'm all for having different tools for different circumstances. Like, for instance, even looking at an entire game, Wildstar, like it was a limited action set. You had 8 skills plus a gadget that you could use at any given time. And so I was used to having to change up for almost each different battle in a dungeon, and then change up to like trash clear spec and all that. So I was pretty used to changing things up, and I really liked that, like having to bring tools for all the situations, but at the same time, I kind of limited myself to, I don't want to bring any more than 2 options for this and 3 options for that. And that's it. So I had 2 sets of armor, 1 for damage and 1 for tank. And I made the best damage set I could to accommodate all situations. And then was like, my weapon is what I would change to go from like AoE stuff to single target. And then my skills I would tweak out for like 3 or 4 specific situations, and that was it. So I mean, I had options, but I wasn't filling my entire bag full of stuff just so I could solve all the options. Right. And like, as long as a game is kind of like that, where you can fit different options, I'm fine. I don't want to have to fill up my bags, like you were saying, and give myself no carry space because I need to do all the options. Like, I shouldn't feel like I'm forced to do something like that. But if it gives, say, a 10% bonus, yeah, I'll probably take my jack of all trades suit and then like 1 or 2 extra options for whatever situations we're planning on encountering. But the jack of all trades should be good enough to do like 90% of content at 90% efficiency.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a pretty reasonable approach to it.
I know that they want to give each class like the preferred, but you can use any weapon that you would like, but there's obviously going to be bonuses towards specific types of weapons, but I think the other thing is also like your character playability and what you want your character to look like. For example, one of the recommended recommended weapons for cleric is a scepter, which I find boring because I really enjoyed having staves in World of Warcraft, for example. So the fact that I can use a staff, while it may not be as proficient as a mace, for example, or a scepter, it still would allow me to have the look that I want to give my character. And I think that's kind of cool. I'm interested in seeing how they do that. I think the original poster was also talking about it being pretty boring in MMOs for like every max level character having pretty much the same kind of gear for each class kind of thing. And that this would be a relatively easy way to avoid it, is just not having like the best weapon.
Yeah, and the other thing that kind of gives me hope for something like that is, or not really hope for something like that so much as it gives me the idea that there's going to be a good variety of augments on there outside of like Horrendous was saying with like social and religious groups and such. Is when they had the last live stream, Jeffrey Bard was saying something about being able to move stats around and being able to shuffle them with the right amount of effort, skills, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So if you need to really shuffle stuff around on there, it's probably not going to be because there's a giant proc of strength on one and not much of a proc of strength on another. It's probably going to be like, hey, I got this other item that has some flame damage. Let me go ahead and get some flame damage on here because this doesn't have any kind of a buff. Let's go ahead and try that. That's my take on it, because I really, really hope there's not in crafting going to be a giant swing in stats when you go to craft stuff, especially since there's like the equipment wears down and will eventually die, and you need to keep repairing it all the time.
Yeah.
Like if there's a risk of your equipment shattering, it shouldn't be terribly RNG to the point where you need to get like the perfect roll and then combine like 7 of the almost perfect roll to get one perfect roll, and then a month and a half later it's broken.
Especially if you try to then enchant it up to plus 15 or something and breaks along the way.
Yeah.
But that's that risk versus reward that Steven is very adamant about as well. There's do I risk taking this a little bit further? Do I put the time into that? Is it worth it? For some, maybe.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like at this point, it's gamer culture to optimize the fun out of games, especially late game, end game like that. So if there's that kind of diversity, and I love that, even if we have to bring 3 different weapons in, you're probably going to want to make sure they're the same weapon type, right? If it's one-handed swords that you typically wear, you're going to want to make sure you've got the right variety of one-handed swords because of the weapon skill tree. And if you're swapping weapons around, it'll be interesting to see how skill points work. And if you've got 5 points into a weapon, like one-handed swords, what happens then when you swap to a mace?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think part of the quote that is out on the wiki and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, from Steven, was that you can choose. It was either Steven or Jeff. Sorry, that you could choose to use any weapon with any class. It just may not be optimal because certain skills and whatnot are going to be based on certain weapon types. So it's pretty much like if you are a certain class and you're going into an actual serious encounter, you really should be using that weapon. If you're not, then you're probably role-playing or wandering around or just goofing off with your friends or out just questing and doing silly stuff. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Like that's great. If you're going into a specific situation where you're trying to actually, win something serious, then you're going to want to bring your main weapon type.
Yeah.
One close, one range, one magic,
But
yeah, that's a good example of Sunfrog.
Yeah, one close, one ranged, one magic. All of the above. I want a throwing axe that I can smack faces with, and it returns to me magically, so it leaves traces of death behind when it teleports back to me. That's what I want. Make it happen. Make it so.
A little arcane explosion from the point of impact to launch it back at you that does extra damage.
Yes.
I like it.
But speaking of attacks and such like that, Wandering Mist even posted up something talking about addressing auto attacks, and it got actually more conversation than I was expecting. But his theory on it was to, and this is me totally paraphrasing, basically to make it easier for quote unquote auto attacking, since there is no auto attack in the game right now. So every single attack, you're either clicking a button or clicking another button or clicking the mouse for every single attack that you make. Instead of making you click for your quote unquote like your basic attack, then how about if you click once and it does say 3 attacks, so you're only clicking 1 out of 3 times. Which I personally would be okay with if it did 2 or even 3 attacks. Just because, man, I've never played a game that made me hit a button for every single attack. There was always something going on, like the filler was auto attacking, so you had a chance to like not get carpal tunnel syndrome and relax your hand a little bit, unless you're playing, of course, like what was it, Ret Pally or Prot Pally? Which of the 2 was it? One of those 2 was absolutely horrendous with needing to hit a button every single half second.
I never.
And it was bananas. But one of those 2.
All I know is Genshin. I'm looking at you.
Yeah, Genshin, I'm looking at you. Yeah. But it gets tiresome after a while.
If that's the case, I'm going to bind it to my mouse wheel and just let it spin.
There you go.
Attack.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if I like the idea of the multi-attack, like a 3-attack combo or something like that, but it needs to be interruptible. Either by moving away from the target and you just miss, or if you're going to use one of your action skills, then that needs to override or interrupt the swing. I would think. I don't want to get locked into a basic attack, because that's usually just filler damage. At the same time, it also comes down to fight tuning a little bit. And does that add a lot of DPS? Does that add the damage that you need to clear that content? Because if your whole raid is not doing those auto attacks, is that gonna be the difference between success and failure? And if you need to be keeping a regular uptime on those auto attacks, carpal tunnel and just general muscle fatigue, as someone who's dealt with that in the past, is a very real concern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna
almost
say,
gotten it before.
I was going to say earlier that Vertec, for example, is found with Genshin. One of the characters, if you attack, wait, and then attack, her first attack does the most damage, and the 2 following does like decreasing amounts of damage. But something like that could be another strategy, is instead of attacking multiple times, like just click, just like click, because like maybe your first attack does the most attack, and then like there's a cooldown, unseen cooldown kind of before that first attack is restarted, and it's not chained in instead. Something
basically like a constant forward walk, and then just hit the attack once, and right before she starts actually moving and walking again, hit the attack again. That way it's constantly interrupting the combo.
Yeah.
But that was kind of my idea on there too, is I don't want to get locked into an attack. Say if someone goes to like put something to sleep, or restrain it down in some way, shape, or form, I don't want my random auto attack to bust it up.
Yeah.
But so it has to be interruptible. Plus, hey, if something comes off cooldown, I want to use it. If somebody uses a skill to take my big skill off a cooldown and I can finally use it, I need to be able to fire it off right away. Yeah. At the same time, it's funny. I saw so many people commenting that auto attack is an outdated mechanism. What's your take on that? Do you feel it's outdated, and why do you feel yes or no?
I don't know if outdated is the term I'd use, because I am not familiar with it being an action attack. It's something that happens passively, automatically in the game. And at that, it makes you question, is it necessary? I think myself and probably a lot of people are of the mindset, unless I'm thinking about it, I'm not even going to think to hit that auto attack most of the time. I'm going to be focused on managing my cooldowns, timing my global cooldown, and paying attention to my environment to move around. There's not going to be anything telling me when to move, where to go. So you need to be paying that attention until you're really, really comfortable with an encounter. But, even in a PvP standpoint, I don't see that happening too often, because the only way it's just going to be really effective is if it doesn't share the global cooldown, and you can time that. It's like, okay, I hit my action ability, and then immediately after I use that, because you're not going to be able to macro it in this game. So you're going to have to action that every time, and to follow it up, just like a 1-2 click, 1-2 click, 1-2 click every single time, to utilize that auto attack during your global cooldown so that you can stay on top of your action abilities.
Yeah, I guess
it feels cumbersome more than outdated.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess to maybe clear up any confusion, like the term auto attack they're referring to is some like white damage that just happens without you doing anything. Like you walk up to an enemy, say attack, and take your hands off the keyboard, and the auto attack is just the white numbers that just keep popping up. Versus the basic attack, as it's being referred to in Ashes, where you actually need to click it and manually enact it every single time. So they're saying auto attack itself, like just an attack happening automatically, is outdated. But personally, I'm coming from the mindset of a tank. You should always be doing something. You should always be doing something. And if you're always doing something, then unless you have that basic attack, then you're not doing any damage. If you're always doing something that's like gaining aggro, cool, you do that once in a while, but then you're also, engaging shields, you're taunting back and forth between tanks, you're, getting rid of threat off of somebody else, you're trying to heal yourself, you're hitting your own mitigation skills, you're repositioning the boss, you're watching the raid for anybody taking damage, of how the healer's mana doing, stuff like that, like calling out, hey healers, I'm using my ultimate cooldown, regen your mana, I'll be good for 10 seconds, whatever, stuff like that. So like tanks, the only time typically that they do most of their damage is from like auto attacks. Like that's a big chunk of their damage, because that's just something that happens while their character is just swinging between stuff. But if you have to manage that yourself, I see tank damage going down a little bit, unless they specifically gear the game around that.
Yeah. You guys have seen those like bamboo things where like if it fills up, it just like drops down and then it comes back up. So Horrendous is saying you could line up 4 of those like liquid birds to dip down and peck the hot bars instead of macro.
Yes, absolutely.
Get one spring loaded so it definitely always has enough force to hit that key down.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
I like
and you come back to your computer a little while later. Why are there dents in my... Ah, man.
Yeah.
Hex.
I like that. That's a good idea.
You forget you leave it on, and next thing you know, you come back to your character just face planted into a wall, swinging at it. Die.
Full on running forward.
Die. Oh, that's fantastic. But so speaking of killing bosses and stuff with it, there's somebody else, Hakaiju says, which loot system do you prefer for group content? And in this little link here that I posted up there, you can actually see it. And they actually go through all the different loot systems, like master loot, dice roll, highest bid, free loot, personal loot. And I mean, there's others as well. But my personal answer is I don't prefer any one for all situations in total. That's my too long didn't read reply.
Well,
that's my TLDR.
I remember there being so many talks for World of Warcraft about like, they changed the loot to this system, or they changed the loot to that system. It was much better at this system. So it's very situational, I think. And it really depends on who's playing and what they're after. Like, I enjoyed with the Mythic runs that anybody who is also a cloth wearer got the cloth wearer items so that somebody who wasn't a cloth wearer didn't really have that drop for them. The only downside was if like, let's say you really needed that and you ended up buddying up with somebody who either used their ult or you don't know, like they could have vied for that as well, and you're like, no, but I need that. Like you're trying to run for me to get that, you know. But that is like one interesting way that makes mitigates kind of the I want everything kind of loot person. That's just like, oh, I could probably use that for an ult. Let me just need on that or greed on that, you know. And then the other thing is the free-for-all loot, which is like, not to like poke fun, but like back when we were doing the testing and Steven had the video and somebody ninja'd the loot. Like, that's a good reason to not have just free-for-all loot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? I think
because it'll just disappear and everyone can be like, whoops.
But my finger slipped.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool if you could choose the kind of loot system that you want going in. So if you're going in with your guild has like a chosen whatever tier, like where some sort of token system. I don't know. It could be cool if you can get in-game guild tokens and then vie for a piece of equipment if your guild leader said it could, you know. As a ninja, if there are no loot rules laid down.
I mean, it depends on how you define ninja loot, because ninja could just be they did it stealthily and quickly without you noticing.
Yeah.
I clicked need before anyone saw it.
Yeah, I got it before anybody knew what was going on. Was there any loot? No, there wasn't any loot. None.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I'd run with my friends, it would always end up being a need before greed, because there was at least some rule there. That way, if you need it, you need on it. If you don't need it, but you really want it, you wait and ask the group. Yeah. That way you can need, if all the other group says greed, but you really want it for like cosmetic or something, you can need and you'll still get it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't need it and you don't really want it, just click greed and it'll go to whoever ends up winning the random roll. And that's it. The end.
Yeah.
If it's just going to be NPC or disenchant fodder, then.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you need it, then you need it. Whatever, go for it. Click it. If you really want it for cosmetic, then just ask the group and maybe we'll be like, sure, go ahead and eat on it. We don't care.
Yeah. I think, having a variety of options for when you enter into a group is important, because if I'm going into a raid with a full group of guildies, you know, we're used to running together, we have a community, there's going to be just a sense of respect amongst each other and a common goal that we're trying to progress in content. So, you know, if I have an alt tank, I'm not going to need on an item that our main tank needs right now to help our group. It's just respect, common sense there. But if you're with randoms, anything you don't know, it's just somebody behind a screen somewhere. There's like, well, I can take the item from you. What are you going to do? Tell me in general chat that I'm a bad player to play with? Like, spam me on the forums, you know?
Right.
Like,
not even.
So in that case, a need before greed or some type of protection that can be employed is good, or just a normal. Yeah, like there is a certain level of etiquette, if you will, I think, amongst most people these days, but there's always exceptions to the rule, right?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. True story. But yeah, it's situational for me. There is no one loot system above them all. But for raiding, I tell you what, I really, 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 really hope that Steven decides to put in like an EPGP point system, because that was freaking amazing. I encountered it, I guess about halfway through my raiding in WoW, and after I found it, I just never used anything else. So it was fantastic. It was probably the perfect solution to any kind of griping that could possibly exist outside of, I just want it because I want it, and I'm going to be upset because I didn't get it.
Yeah.
It's the only argument you could possibly use against it, in which case it's just a, raid kick.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like, you're toxic. Get out of here.
Yeah, I see it all the time in WoW Classic now, being spammed in guild recruitment messages. I haven't used it or seen it myself, so I'm not overly familiar with it, but some type of loot system like that where, rewards are based on contribution or something like that is...
Yeah, the way it worked,
nice.
Teof, it was it's EPGP was effort points, gear points, and you could earn effort points towards the raid based on a pre-established list of things that would give you points. Yeah. For one, there was just showing up to the raid, showing up on time to the raid, I should say.
You get 5 marks for putting your name on the test.
Yeah, like there was, you got points for showing up as a bench person. Just your second string, and you're showing up as second string. If somebody doesn't show up, then they go and you become first string. So there's that's how that works. But if you show up at least ready to take somebody's place in case it's needed, you get points. If you make potions for the raid and donate it into the guild bank to be used specifically for raiding, you got points. If you made gear, you got even more points. If you just crafted anything or collected or farmed or whatever and contributed anything towards the raid, you got points. And every week, these points would decay a bit. That way you couldn't just sit around, amass like all the points in the world in 1 month, not get any gear because you don't care about it. And then 6 months down the road, when the next expansion comes out, you get all the gear from the first raid. Yeah. To prevent something like that, it would actually decay like every week or so, every month, or however the raid leader would set it. Mm-hmm. And whenever you bid on something, you would lose a certain number of points based on what gear you got. Mm-hmm. If it was a main spec piece for you or a second spec piece, if it was a weapon or if it was armor or if it was a trinket or something, it would get different points deducted from your total. That way you could gear out for X amount of points total through the entire raid to get your perfect and set, your perfect slot sets for everything. But it would take you a really long time to build that up.
Mm-hmm. I kind of really liked that system because it encouraged being a part of the guild in multiple facets. If you did anything to help out the guild, like if you're that late night person that you don't really like raiding, but you enjoy just grinding, like going out and like farming stuff or whatever, and you just bring back mats for like alchemists to be able to use, that should count for something. And the alchemists that make the potions and stuff, or the people that make food for buffs, they get a certain amount of points for that as well. And the people that use the stuff to make armor, or the people that bring in the ore for other things, and like etc. It gives each person in the guild a role for the guild that matches and aligns with their playstyle. So if you're super casual but you want to still contribute to the guild somehow, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're a great crafter, you can legitimately get free raid gear. Well, I say free, but you can get raid gear based on the effort that you put in completely outside of the raid. You went to one raid and you got like 2 best in slot items because you have been donating all of the food and potions and some gear for the hardcore raiders that were able to finally clear the dungeon.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool system, and I hope they kind of do something like that. It would be great. I doubt they will, but
it would be nice to have something like that built into the game. Right, like if a guild bank is its own thing, anytime you contribute a certain thing, maybe the guild leader can assign so many points to that item. When you contribute that item into the guild bank, you get those points, and the game just kind of automatically tracks it. You set your own DK rate or whatever you want, to however you're going to prioritize things.
It's really good.
But to have that would be really cool.
Yeah. In worst case scenario, you can always use it as a third-party tool, but
absolutely,
being built into the game would be even better. But just have the raid leader set a predetermined list that's posted for everybody to see. These are the points you get for effort points. Just keep doing this stuff and you'll get effort points.
Yeah, it'd be nice because like the raid leader could put the finished goods in that list, and then the system could automatically break down. Okay, well, if you contribute the crafting materials to build these things into the guild bank, then you get a fraction of the points or something like that. That would be nice just to have that all automatically in there.
Yeah, I agree.
Contribute all the bits and pieces.
So I'm just going to transition away. Well, hold on. Let me try to figure that out. Well, let's transition into the dev discussion because we're talking about bosses. We're talking about fighting. It feels like a good segue. the dev discussion just released, I believe, yesterday, as of where we live, was dev discussion number 25, boss difficulty. Glorious Ashes community, it's time for another dev discussion. Dev discussion topics are the kind of like a reverse Q&A, like a boss. Oh my gosh. Rather than you asking us questions about Ashes of Creation, we want to ask you what your thoughts are. So, do you enjoy gatekeeper bosses? A boss that is very difficult right at the start of a dungeon, followed by a few easier bosses? Or do you prefer the linear difficulty in bosses where you start off easy and then get more difficult?
What's your take on that, Sir HalfTilt?
I like the idea of a challenging boss at the start, but not mechanically. I think the tougher mechanics should come kind of as you go up to a climax point with the final boss. I think it should be more of a gear check, a DPS check, a heal check, right? Like the boss should hit hard, but and should be a bit of a meat shield in a way. And it'll have it's got to have mechanics to it. And maybe those mechanics are a little bit dynamic based on, is this your first attempt clearing it? Have you killed this boss in previous attempts with this majority of this group? Whatever it might be, and maybe it adjusts its difficulty a little bit that way, or adds mechanics as you go if you're killing it too quickly. But if you're not able to hit an enrage timer and clear that boss, then that's a good sign. I think somebody else said something like this in the comments. That's a good check that maybe you need to go back to farming dungeon and gearing out your group a little bit better, working on your skills and abilities, talents, specs, rotations, whatever it might be, to kind of up the game so that you're at the level you need to be at to at least compete in this dungeon. Because the next fights, they might not require as much just raw damage, but they're going to be more mechanically challenged, that are going to break up your segments of damage and healing and tanking and cause you to move around and avoid things and position differently. So you're going to have to be able to kind of pick up and continue going, therefore requiring less damage. But
yeah. I actually had an interesting idea, and first I want to touch on what Herenda said, and kind of, I guess, ask a clarifying question. He says, in an open world, another group could run past you while you're fighting if there is a gatekeeper, but they said at the start of a dungeon. Are all dungeons going to be open world, or are they planning that to be closed, but like the big raids being open world? I forgot exactly what they said with that.
He said the aim currently, which may change after testing, is going to be like 70 to 80% are going to be open world, both dungeons and raids. And the other 20% are going to be basically only closed and instanced because they're story based.
Okay, gotcha. That kind of does put a damper on things, but the thought process that I had was kind of along the lines of what HalfTilt just said, which is, have some sort of DPS check. But what if the gatekeeper was the final boss, but he was there to be like a menace and give you a taste of what you're going to experience later? And it's very scaled down. And as soon as you hit that DPS check, he goes away and you have to go into the dungeon to finish fighting him. But by the time you get to him again, he's scaled back up to his normal. So that might be something interesting, right? Because it gives you like that oh shit factor of like, oh god, is this the first person I have to fight? Oh my gosh, how hard is this dungeon going to be? And then you realize that's the boss at the end, and he's way harder than he was in the beginning, but it gives you a taste.
It would be neat if he had, they gave him a table. And I think this is something they've talked about with bosses in general, like based on how quickly or how easily you cleared the previous boss, the next bosses are going to have, a selection of different mechanics and increased difficulty. But if that first boss / final boss did that same, like, okay, you hit your DPS check, like did 75% of the damage and almost got him dead in 30 seconds versus 5 minutes, that makes him in his final form exponentially more difficult the quicker you take him down. It's like, okay, now he's going to be a menace to society when you get in there.
Yeah.
And the real question that I have about all this stuff is going to be if that situation could even actually happen. Like if it's open world, could another group run past you while you're fighting any boss? Would there be any way that the boss has the room sealed so you can't just run past them? For instance,
cool.
like could use stealth all your group and just run past the first 3 bosses and just forget about them and not even mess with them. If that's the case, if they're not going to actually put some kind of a wall or some kind of a literal gate for the gatekeeper to guard. Because if not, and you can just sneak past everything, I mean, that makes things a lot more interesting / worse / I don't know. Like, because it could totally be worse, because you could have a group that just all they want to do is fight the last boss, and they're just going to wait until you get in a fight with the whatever, say the first or second boss. They just want to get to the last guy. They'll wait until you get in that fight. They're going to try and run past you, and that's going to end up making the boss notice that there's more people in the area, which they just said during the last live stream, that the boss is going to rate how difficult it is and how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be based on how many people are in that area.
Yeah.
So you could have people just waiting, lining up to run past you, and it's just the boss is looking, going, all right, I'm about to rain some death on you guys, and suddenly 3/4 of the group just runs right past him.
Oh man.
Yeah, and just basically forces a wipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would stink. I honestly don't really know how to deal with the whole open world thing. I think it's nifty, but I'm really on the edge. I'm not quite sold on it. I think it might be more of a detriment than a added thing to it. It sounds nifty, but they really have to figure out how they're going to do it just to, avoid griefing like that.
That is absolutely a form of griefing for sure.
Yeah, it definitely takes away any sort of I enjoy going into a dungeon because I know that after all of my hard work, I'm getting whatever is at the end of the dungeon, or at least I have a chance to get the thing. If I necessarily roll horrible that round and I don't get anything, oh well, at least I got some gold or something. But it just, if somebody else is able to come through and just completely wipe it out and just finish the rest of the dungeon, I've lost all interest in the dungeon at that point. Then I'm like, okay, well, you took the dungeon. Clearly this isn't worth it for me. Now I'm just going to go find something else to do. Tavern Side, thank you so much.
Tavern Side, thank you.
3 months in a row now. Nice.
Much appreciated.
I'm going to keep the discussion going. I'm just going to swap over just to remind everybody of the testing dates upcoming, including next week. So go ahead and continue.
But yeah, I don't know. I have some kind of issues with the open world rating and whatnot. I kind of wish it was the other way around, where it was most of the stuff was instanced and there was some that was open world, and it was strategically done because it was going to be like major epic fights and things like that. And I don't know, you could be a group up on the edges, and by bringing certain resources, you could help the group pass or help the boss beat the group or something like that. Sabotage or assist the group fighting because it's open world, and do it through mechanics and systems in the game. And I think that'd be pretty cool. But I just think there's so many hurdles to get around with a truly open world rating and open world dungeon running that it's going to be interesting testing.
Yeah.
Very. And I think that really that needs to be tested a lot during alphas and betas, especially in the beta phase. I feel like that's going to be a big part of that, because that's when you're going to see a lot more people, a lot more diverse people with a diverse focus in the testing phase, because that is absolutely right.
Yeah. And not to mention betas are right before it's supposed to be live, so you're supposed to have your mechanics done by then. And your base gameplay down.
Yeah, honestly, I think, unfortunately, I think if there's going to be any major progress or action done on that, it's got to be beta 1. Yeah. It has to be, because for one, they're probably not going to want to release a big raid unless they make weird random skins for the people and they don't put any story in it. I mean, I guess that could work, but I know they don't want to ruin stuff that people have to explore and find in the game. Right. So if they're gonna explore and test that in alpha, they'd have to do it using like random skins of random monsters in a random location, like create a dungeon or raid like randomly just for testing purposes only.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't spoil anything for the future. But it also can't be any later than beta 1, because if they wait until beta 2, like game's almost about ready to be released, and then they go, okay, now let's find out if open world raiding works.
Yeah, no, that has to be
late on that.
Yeah.
That has to be in place before that. I think come beta, I feel like a lot of the gloves are going to be off in terms of trying to hold things close to the chest. You can keep a lot of the story and dialogue out, but the environments are going to need to be there to be explored for exactly that reason. You want to get that testing done before it becomes a finished game. We'll have to see there, but I remember it was a dev stream they did maybe September, August time when they did the dungeon dive and flew through it. And there was a lot of talk then about open world dungeon and, you know, the ability for a group or even single players to go in and farm monsters or farm bosses in specific rooms and just kind of sit there and camp them and wait there. And I remember Steven being rather excited about the prospect of how people are going to handle that when another group comes in, or if you're in that other group that comes in and there's someone already there farming the area that you want to farm. How do you guys deal with that? Is it amicable? Do they move on like, okay, yeah, we've been here a couple hours, we'll let you have the spot now? Or does it turn into a full PvP brawl? And it's going to be interesting to see how that can happen. You know, what I'm most curious about is if I'm in a group and we've engaged a boss, we've got it down 30, 40, 50, 60%, and another group shows up and they want that boss too, not just to run past it, but they want the loot, something from that boss. If they come in and kill us and pick up the boss, how exactly does that work? Does that boss reset? Do they deliver the final few blows? And because we did more damage and got first hit, you know, we have looting rates, but none of us are around to respawn because we're all dead.
Right.
Does that boss disappear with that loot then? How exactly is that going to work? That's going to be an interesting thing to test.
Yeah. And that's kind of... Go ahead, sorry.
No worries. I was going to say that kind of feeds into one of the first games I played, Ultima Online. I started with one of the more popular expansions of it, Renaissance. And that's kind of how it was. Everything was open world. But at the same time, unless you had really good gear and you were really practiced, you could go around the corner from a town and fight a zombie in a graveyard and you'd be facing a challenge. And that's if you have all of your stats and you've built your character and you have good gear. If you didn't build it right, you could go and face a challenge in a graveyard fighting zombies, and it would actually be a challenge.
Yeah.
Like, so going into the big dungeons and such to really do some serious adventuring, you'd need to make sure you took friends with you, many friends. And if you joined on the PvP shards, you had to kind of be hardcore, or else you were just not going to get those dungeons done, because people would specifically snipe others that were going in there fighting a boss, get it low, the player's low too, and they come in and just wipe it all up and take all the gear, because you dropped your gear on the ground when you died.
Yeah.
When the boss died, it just dropped the gear on the ground. Whoever grabbed it.
Yeah. It definitely creates a bit of a mess.
Yeah. On that note, can I share the video for the anime-esque thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's this really cool video somebody made. I'm just gonna go ahead and pause the background audio and enable the desktop background audio.
貴様の腹渡で未来を占ってやろう。
I wish I could make it just auto replay.
貴様の腹渡で未来を占ってやろう。
It's very cute.
That's cool.
I like it. Recruiting.
So.
Solid recruitment.
By the way, guys, I listen to a lot of chill stuff, and they love to put bikini girls on there.
They do.
No
they
judgment.
Do. That in Tropical House.
Yeah, that in Tropical House. I'm like over here trying to, when I was doing right. Yeah. When I was doing Maid Cafe with the girls, I was listening to chill stuff, and it flashed on, and like I went super red, and I was just like, sorry, that's just chill stuff. I don't know why.
They're just
Aaron just
cosplaying.
has it right. They're just cosplaying. They're cosplaying as beach bunnies.
That's right.
Cosplaying as Beach Bunny is always oh, I also got to see Z's fan art that they put up with her reenacting the shoulder piece. So yeah.
Womp, womp, womp.
But let me.
Z does rock.
This
Yeah, she's
real
got some amazing art.
quick. Oh yeah, she does. We love your art, Z. I have to fix this photo share that real quick.
Oh.
I will go ahead and toggle the music back on. I'm glad we have our bot. That's really useful.
Oh yeah, for dropping that wonderful link. Good
Yeah.
job, guy. Good job.
Those buy followers, buy subscribers. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the recipe for success that I'm missing.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if everybody thinks all the cool kids come here, then they'll come here too, right? That's how
Yeah.
it works.
Clearly buying is the answer. Okay. So then there's this really cute, I'm gonna go ahead and just hide the YouTube thing under it. There we go. That looks better. Then there's this cute fan. Wait, that's not the fan piece. That was a while back. It was in the wrong folder, I think.
Whoopsie.
Oopsie. Photo share. Well, let's look at this
That looks
music
like a
photo piece. Right?
Well,
I
hey.
forgot
Well, then while
what-
you're picking up the real one here.
Which one was that? Because it was supposed to be alone, and it's found other ones now.
Oh no. Oh no. Well, hey, while you look for that. So, Sir HalfTilt of Gamertown.
Gamertown.
Yes. So, chapter 6, The Winds of Change. The
Oh,
little
boy.
choose your own adventure that they have us going through.
Oh boy.
Yes,
They put up the new one, right? Right?
they did.
So,
the-
I place upon you.
Fight them or let them explain.
Yes, the question
that's
for
the
those
one.
that have not seen it. Here's the
that
setting of the
explains
stage. Our cleric heals us with benediction. The enemy team runs forth, but our tank pushes back the attacks. Our mage casts a spell, and our enemies are grounded in place. The enemy group's leader puts their hands up to surrender. What should we do next? Should we hear them out or finish the fight?
I
What
said hear
say
them out.
you?
I voted for hear them out.
Me too. Although
Are-
immediately upon clicking that, I saw that most of the other people chose the other option.
I was a little torn at first, but I'm like, if I have the opportunity to make allies, I'd rather have allies than enemies when entering a new world. So let's see where this goes.
Okay. Well, you, as our guest, have made the choice that I'm voting for us. So we put an extra vote on hear them out.
Sweet deal. We're still a minority, I think.
Yeah, still. I mean, what I'm seeing here is 47% are saying hear them out and 52% finish the fight.
Okay.
Somebody says, watch out for their rogues who are sneaking to flank us.
Oh, that's right. Definitely stay on high alert.
Yeah.
Just halt attacking for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this isn't by Z. Z does Clay. This is by Withy Windle?
With a windle.
Withy Windle,
Withy
the
Windell?
Loon writer.
Yep.
Withy Windle.
Yeah. And actually, watching one of your past videos there, HalfTilt, you were talking about the Spire of Aramis.
A little bit,
Z.
yeah.
She made a Spire of Aramis in Minecraft.
Really? Nice.
Pretty much a direct recreation.
Oh, right on. I never actually, I've never seen the Spire of Aramis other than on the APOC map, but right on.
Yeah, she made it in Minecraft. Yeah, you should totally check it out. Yeah. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. That's wicked.
Yeah, Z, if you have the link for that, definitely drop that. If not, I'll share it with him after the show. I'll look it up afterwards.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
But yeah, from Withy Wendell, they do some good doodles there. Because they had another one. They had some bears nomming down on a picnic.
That's a really happy looking camel.
It is.
It is.
It's a camel that did their mascara this morning too.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Perfect. I will grab that.
But with that, Madam Bree, did you have anything else you wish to share or bring up or toss on the screen?
Yes, I'm doing that currently.
Okay.
Just real quick, this is just Zia's lovely art piece of the armor.
Okay.
A camel caravan.
There we go.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
So
That's Z's piece.
That's badass. I like it.
And I gotta say that actually might be one of the best I've seen you do
Yeah,
as far as quality goes.
I love the skull on the side piece there. That looks really solid.
Yeah, I really like it. So, yeah, aside from that, no, that's all I really wanted to share because I saw that while I was trying to grab the Dev Diaries, or Dev Discussion rather, link, and I saw that and I was like, I didn't see that one before.
Oh, that is worthy
Found
of it.
it.
Yeah, indeed. Alrighty.
Yeah, we got to get you creating foam armor. You could totally sell that on Etsy for a lot of money to people
I
who
would
want to
totally wear
cosplay.
it for you.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm just saying, people have bought, say, elven dragon people from WoW for, say, like $1,000 or close to it, and it's just foam armor. That's it.
That's crazy.
All you gotta do is get good at making foam armor, paint it, and sell it for a lot of money. Oh, it hurt.
Hiding away.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. We'll pressure you into it. You're the artistic one of our channel here, I do believe. So
Me?
no,
Oh,
Z.
thank goodness.
She's the artistic one that visits us and says hi.
I was like, I would try to make it, but I'm pretty sure I'd break it halfway through, and then I'd be like, nope, I'm done, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
10
and I
hours
just
spent and gone already.
I can't get these hands to do anything that my mind wants it to. When it comes to art, it just doesn't do anything.
He's only an artist when it comes to music. DJ.
Music is great. But anywho, so we can start winding down, I suppose. It is about that time. And maybe get out of here. Sir, do you have anything you would like to share with the class? Any projects you have coming up? Any videos you're working on? Any last thoughts? And definitely please do share your socials and stuff like that.
All right. I do really want to continue the Treasure Hunter series because it's honestly just been a ton of fun just diving through the stuff and looking. So I feel like I've exhausted the two easy ones. It's going to take a lot more diving and a lot more speculation for any future ones, but they are still in the plans to continue forth, especially as we get into alpha. Hopefully get some more teasers from Intrepid throughout the next two alphas. And right now I'm also working on some discussion series videos as we go into alpha and things to systems mechanics that what kind of goes between immersion and convenience, and just to keep an open mind going into alpha with those and to provide feedback on. So
Horrendous wants to know if you're in Alpha 2.
Oh yes, I am in Alpha 2. Definitely in Alpha 2, and really hoping to get into Alpha 1 still.
And Sunfrog wants to know if you're in Alpaca too.
Alpaca? What's alpaca?
It's a camel-like animal.
Oh, I mean, we have them around, but
That, and there were memes when Apocalypse got named as such. There were memes everywhere about ashes of Alpacalypse. Alpaca.
Apocalypse.
It's a tongue twister.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Ashes of Alpaca.
That sounds like a Varan delicacy right there.
There you go.
Alpacalypse.
think you
My
might
mom
be correct,
died
sir.
in a boss battle the other day, so I had to honor him. So here's my mount.
But
Alright.
yeah, so no, I wasn't around during APOC at all. I wasn't aware of Ashes of Creation during APOC, and I'm really sad about that because I would have loved to have played it. But you
Happy to
can
have
find
you.
me. I stream 3 nights a week over on Twitch, twitch.tv/HalfTilt Gamer, my YouTube channel, HalfTilt Gamer, and I'm on Twitter, half.tilt. So hit me up. I'm on Instagram too, but I don't do much on there. So
Yeah.
too many things.
Well, we have
Yes,
an
way
Instagram
too many
too,
things.
and I keep looking at it because it reminds me of like, oh, Ashes of Creation posted recently. I was like, cool, and it was like
Yeah.
the last time I posted was like a while ago, and I was just like, yep,
Yeah.
sounds about right.
It's been a while. There's too many things. There's too many things.
Yeah.
But either way, thank you so much for stopping by. Definitely appreciate it. Had
Thank
fun
you guys for
talking.
having me. It's been an honor and a pleasure talking with you guys. It's
No
been fun.
problem. Thanks for giving us your
Everybody
time.
else hanging out in the chat with us. We appreciate
Yeah.
your time as well. Thank you
And
for
we-
stopping by.
We will be here, I think, next Friday. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
looking that way. It's
Previously,
looking
I
that way.
might have said that we were going to be gone because we were going to visit family, but timing, finances, and well, a new roommate is kind of causing a situation to not happen
Yeah.
for that.
We'll
yeah.
have a definitive for sure by like Sunday, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's looking like 90% we're not going to be streaming next week. So either way, we'll put something out just as a reminder of if we are or are not.
Okay, yeah. And I couldn't get the credits to work. That's what the blank notice board was before, so I just put our time as a reminder for you guys of when we're live. Hopefully Streamlabs can figure that out soon. But all right. Thank you guys so much. Keep an eye out on our social media, and if anything else, we'll probably be reaching out to you guys to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and whatever else you celebrate, you know? So see you next time.
Happy ho ho.
Take care, you guys.
Later
Thank you
on.
again.